everybody, I'm Tim Ward and welcome back to Garden Sense. Well, I hope that everyone had a very blessed Easter weekend this past weekend. I know I did. However, even with the holiday weekend, I got a ton of emails because obviously some of you are thinking about your gardens, thinking about your lawn. Even though a lot of our listening area didn't have the best weather, my inbox was pretty darn full. So I have 3 questions I want to address here today on this week's video podcast. So buckle up, everybody. Let's jump right in. The first question is from Ernest. Hi, Tim. Can you recommend the best time when to apply Mossmax? So when it comes to dealing with moss, there are a few things you need to remember. First of all, the moss has to be actively growing. And the best time for when it's going to be actively growing is in the, late spring, very early summer, or towards the very end of summer and very early fall. Again, you need it to be warm, but not hot. What happens is if it gets too hot, the growth rate is going to drastically slow down. And so that means that putting Mossmax down in the summer isn't going to be as effective because the plant isn't really going to absorb it and die off. So again, putting down Mossmax now when it's warm but not too hot is going to be key. So we're talking late spring, very early summertime, or at the very, very end of summer and into the fall. Those are the 2 best times for applying Mossmax. The next question is from Thoretta. Tim, I have a dead crabgrass patch in my lawn. Do I dig up the dead crabgrass patch, then spread grass seed, and then spread weed control to the remainder of the lawn? So that's exactly what I would do. If it's not too big of an area, just go ahead and dig it up, get rid of it, overseed the area, and then absolutely, you can put down your weed control products around that area, just not in it, because obviously it would prevent the seed from germinating. Now, sometimes with crabgrass, you got to dig down a little bit deeper to make sure you get the entire plant and all the roots. So if that's the case, try and raise the level of the hole you just dug a little bit. Put some topsoil in it again, just to kind of level it out. That new fresh soil will also help speed up the germination process for the grass seed that you're going to put down. But the plan you have is exactly how I would handle it, so good luck. The final question for today is from Inez. Hi, Tim. A section of our lawn looks like the attached picture. I'm looking for suggestions on how to get grass growing there again. Okay, so there's one big unknown with this question, and that is, why is the grass doing so poorly in that area? Is it low and all the water drains there, and so the grass just isn't really able to grow in a healthy way and it dies off? Is there something in the soil in this area that's preventing it from the seed taking and germinating and growing strong? Is there something below the soil surface that's hindering the roots and how deep they're able to go? We don't really know. So not knowing that information, I would actually recommend that you put down some topsoil, and I would get a lot. I would try to raise that area, an inch or 2, then put down some Barenbrug Turf Saver RTF grass seed. It's the best grass seed available. It's very, very hardy. I would put that down. I would then put down Turf Trust Professional Starter Formula right there the same day. Once you have the Turf Trust down, cover it with Easy Straw. And then, like we always say, you got to make sure that you keep that straw wet. And so you're going to be watering it once a day, at least, every day for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, the other thing I would do is I would actually saturate that area at least once a week, maybe even a little bit more with Kickstart. That Kickstart is going to help with that root establishment. And so once the grass actually starts to germinate, putting Kickstart down on it is going to help that root system grow really, really strong, which in turn is going to take in more of the nutrition from the Turf Trust fertilizer. So that's how I would handle it, not knowing at all what's going on in that area in general. So it's a little bit of a guess, but again, if it's something where it's a low spot, you can elevate it with some soil. You can always get a soil analysis done and see if there's something, maybe the pH is wrong in that particular part of your yard for whatever reason, and that's preventing the grass from taking. But without that information, this is the best advice I can give you. So put down some topsoil, put down the Barenbrug Turf Saver RTF, put down Turf Trust Professional Starter Formula, cover it with easy straw, water it every day for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and make sure that you put down Kickstart at least once a week, and I would frankly do that for the next 4 to 6 weeks. All right, everybody, just a couple final thoughts before we wrap up this week's video podcast. Folks, make sure that you have put down Turf Trust fertilizers on your lawn. If you haven't gotten it down yet, go ahead, head over to rosensonline.com and pick up some bags. This is a great time to put it down. Remember, there are 4 times a year we would recommend using the fertilizers. It's going to be around March 15th, around June 15th, around Labor Day, and then again just before Thanksgiving. You want to make sure you get that final feeding in before the grass completely goes dormant and the ground starts to freeze. Now, folks, I'm getting a lot of questions about, what product to use instead of Gallery because we are out of Gallery. I mentioned this last week, but I'm going to mention it again. You can go ahead and use Dimension. Dimension is going to prevent a lot of broadleaf weeds, not as many as Gallery, but it's still a really effective product. And in addition, it's going to help fight a lot of those grassy weeds, crabgrass being one of them. We are now in April, and it's a great time to go ahead and put it down because it is going to help control that crabgrass population as we head into summer. Now remember, we also recommend a second application towards the end of summer, like late August, early September. But if you're going to be overseeding in the fall, obviously you can't use Dimension at that time. So yes, you can use Dimension as a Gallery substitute. Again, it is not as effective as Gallery for broadleaf weeds, but it does stop a fair number of them, and it has all those grassy weeds that it's going to help prevent. Now, the other thing I want to remind you guys, and I mentioned it when I answered the last question, is Kickstart. Folks, it's great for all of your plants. So we talk about it virtually every episode because it is so effective. You can use it on your lawns, you can use it on your gardens, you can use it on your trees, your shrubs, even your indoor plants can benefit from Kickstart. So head over to rosensonline.com. You can pick up a couple of bottles. You can also buy it by the case. Again, it's one of our favorite products because of how versatile it is. Folks, I want to remind everyone, although you folks don't seem to be having this issue, is that if you have questions, make sure you send them directly to me, tim@rosensonline.com. I answer each and every email that I get. We are, again, in a very high volume in terms of email traffic time of year. So give me a couple of days when you send an inquiry, because again, that is about how long it takes me to get through all of the emails that I receive on a daily basis, and they add up pretty darn quick. Folks, I want to thank you for spending all this time with us today. It really does mean a lot. We wouldn't have a show that we can produce every single week without you. I hope you guys had an amazing Easter weekend. I hope you have a wonderful weekend this weekend. God bless.